Okay, welcome back. So this is the second video in our question and answers session. And again, thank you for submitting so many things. So we've talked about flowers, we've talked about aspects of floristry. And one of the things, like Paige Allen, you asked, would I be willing to talk about pricing? And also like formula for ordering the right amount of flowers for a wedding, that was from Free Spirit. Tips on pricing for events. So pricing is really a big thing that people want to know. And I think we're very guilty in the flower world of thinking about design, thinking about clever ideas and beautiful things, and we totally forget about the business aspect. And really, we need to get our heads screwed on with this, because if you look at, say, another industry like hairdressing, they cut hair. But when you look at some of the salons, they've really taken their game right up, and it's just amazing. The actual physical property that they work in, the way that people work, the pricing structure, they've really looked into their business rather than just thinking about the hairstyles. And I think that's what florists need to do as well. I think it's very easy to work in a shop and enjoy it, but taking it to being your own business, you need a whole new skill set for that. So pricing, let's look at this. Now, what I've done is I've created a simple pricing guide, and I have to say this is very simplified. If you want to do more, then I would definitely do your own research and do a bit more of what works for you. So when we talk about flowers, you can buy them wholesale, and you're buying something at maybe £60. So how do you price that? I would say the industry average in Britain is probably by multiplying it by 2.5 or 3 or maybe 3.5. And this would include an element for breakage and an element for VAT as well. So if a stem costs £60, you could sell it for £1.50, £1.80, maybe £2.40. If you're not VAT registered, I would say that you are paying VAT on all your purchases. So you still need to take into account that VAT existed in the equation. So you probably want to just work things as if you already were. So you definitely need to price up your flowers. Then the next aspect is labour. I had my own shop in Dundee, and there was a competing shop that a girl worked in who was a very good florist, and she gave up and she started selling flowers herself. So she was selling bouquets for £20, £25 that in the shop that she worked for would have cost £30, £35. And she's probably thinking, I'm really going to get a lot of business. And the reality is that she was doing it for less and making less. So she would have been better selling them at the prices that her previous place sold them for. So I would say if you're selling a loose flower, there's no labour. If you're doing simple floristry, so this is your bread and butter stuff, so if you're making hand ties, then you probably want to cost it at say like £8 or £10 an hour. If it's something that's a bit more complicated, like making arrangements or funeral work, then you probably want to charge say £15 an hour. And then complicated floristry, like bridal work, bespoke funeral work, then you want to charge a premium price like £20 an hour. Now, you have to kind of be realistic though, because if you're making a hand tie and you're good, you should be able to make that in less than 15 minutes. So you only want to charge 15 minutes of labour. So if that's £10 an hour, you want to charge £2.50 for those 15 minutes. It's not the £10. And with your floristry, like complicated floristry like weddings, you might charge a higher labour charge for making your bridal bouquet than you would for making your table arrangements. The other thing to take into account as well is if you're a shop owner, you might be very fast at working, but your staff might work at a slower rate. So you actually want to be able to price things according to how they work speed-wise. Because if they're taking half an hour and you're thinking it only takes 15 minutes, you're not really charging labour at the correct price then. So imagine, we'll do an example, but you also want to include things like delivery, wrapping and packaging. So your wrap and pack, that should all be costed as well, so you might want to just double that. Retail items you might have in your shop as well, so like decor things, ceramics, whatever. It's up to you what you want to make. Like you might only want to make 20%, 50%, you might want to make 100% or 200%. In some ways with items like that, it's up to you where you want to position yourself with pricing. So what are your competitors doing? What's the local area like? If people are really struggling, if there's high unemployment, you're going to find yourself in much more of a value orientated area. You might be in an affluent area where they can spend £50, £60 and they're not expecting a bucket of cheap flowers, they'd rather have more select flowers. So it depends where you want to position yourself as well. But for example, if you had like a £30 bouquet, you're going to want to take off labour. So if we're saying £10 an hour and it takes 15 minutes, you're taking off £2.50. Say the wrapping and packaging, including a simple message card and flower food, you might want to take off, say, £2. Delivery, £4.50. VAT, £6, because you're talking about VAT in that made up item. And that would leave you with £15 left for flowers. So you could say, right, for the majority of our work is hand ties, literally the flower budget for whatever value it is half of the order value. So if someone spends £40, you're giving them £20 of flowers. If they're spending £60, you're giving them £30 of flowers. There's so many ways that you can look at pricing that it actually becomes confusing. And sometimes having a very simple way of looking at it is better than getting lost in something complicated that neither you or your staff actually follow. So you might want to say the flower value in arrangements is 1/3 of the value. A flower value in hand ties is half the value. A flower value in just loose flowers is full value. You could work it like that. But some notes, you can make it complicated, you can make it simple, but probably simple's better. You can start with a price and go down the way, or you can start with all your costs and end up with a price. Depends how you want to do it. So maybe at Valentine's Day you're thinking 12 roses, you work out your price from your material costs. Whereas general shop work, you know people like to spend £20, 25, 30, you work it down from there. Nothing is free. If you offer something for nothing, you are literally giving it away and you're losing out. And I think ultimately the customer thinks you're not giving it away for free. But say you open a new shop and you say, I'm going to do free delivery for every order over £20. It's going to be very hard at a future date to take away that free delivery. So sometimes it's worth not giving things away for free, but maybe looking at what you do offer that is an incentive, but is not coming out of your pocket. It's all these little free things that means you're getting less, basically. And you could look at other industries. So look at things like hairdressers. How are they pricing? If you're a big shop with a variety of people, do you want to have like a junior bouquet, a seasoned florist bouquet, and the owner bouquet? It depends how you want to place yourself as well. Lots of things to think about with pricing. It's really worth getting into like management book, looking for books on pricing and just having a wee look. It can get complicated, but it's definitely something you've got to look at. Okay, so that was pricing. And as I say, we did this little sheet. We're going to put that into where the description of the video is. We'll either do a little link for that or you'll be able to copy that in some way. Now, say you're wanting to do a wedding, and I wish I'd actually thought about this in advance. What we used to do was we used to have a sheet. So we would write all the flowers we're going to use for the wedding, and then all the items that are going to be in the wedding, and then work out how many stems of each flower for each item. So in the bridal bouquet, you wanted bridal bouquet, avalanche roses 15, and then eucalyptus half a bunch, and you would do it like that. You would work out, so you would literally take your wedding order, put all the items in, put all your contents in, and then you come up with a total. And then you need to think, well, bunches come in 20, so maybe I have to order 10 more, or maybe on this item I could order just a bunch less. You're better to have a little bit of leeway as well. And again, that depends if you've got a shop that you can use that leeway into general use. So just sit down and write yourself a grid for working out what you actually need. Tips on pricing for events. That's really hard. And I would say that the best advice for pricing is you decide the price that suits you. If you are making it suit the customer, or making it that it doesn't suit you in one way or another, you're never going to be happy. So you need to get the price that suits you. I always want it to be more kind of middle of the road, and actually I think it's better do your costings, work out what things actually cost, and then take it from there. Handling the COVID pandemic. How have we been able to do that? So Marianne Lane asked, I'm in the lucky situation that I've really come out of actual retail work now, so we've not been subject to it. From the point of view of making videos, we've had the problem where Janos, who's the technical person, he's actually in the UK, I'm actually in Hungary, so and all our equipment is at his mum's. So we have the problem of logistics, but there's always ways, so we're able to still make some content. The only thing I apologise for is we don't have a microphone. But there's ways, and the same in shops. So some shops have made it collection only. They've been able to really grow their online part of the business. And I think that's going to probably be the thing that will come from this, is that some shops will go more online, and some people are going to question whether they want to continue. I think some shops will financially have suffered and no longer be there. It's going to have been a hard time for a lot of people, and there could be less flower shops. They could be more likely to not want to be on the high street. They're more likely to want to do their business online or have a collection place rather than a full shop. But I think the one thing that I'm reminded of is that everything changes. We all need to be like Madonna. We have to reinvent ourselves every year, every 6 months, every 10 years. If we stay the same, then it gets jaded for us and for the customers. So reinvention is the key, and sometimes it takes something awful that's an outside force to cause that, but sometimes if we take that and do it ourselves, then we become leaders rather than followers, and that's a good way of thinking. So, do we have a website? We don't have a website. When I had my shop, we had a website, and it was so long ago that right at the beginning I thought, oh, I'm being conned into a website. But towards the end of having the business, we had a website that traded quite well on a monthly basis, and when it came to peak times, it really did very well. And it allows you to exist 24 hours a day, whereas your physical shop can only open for the time that you're physically there. So a website is a very good way, not just of giving over information, but also for trading for flower shops. Any advice for getting funeral contracts? This was from Jackie Davis. That's also a hard one. Depends where you are. Depends on your local funeral directors. Depends on what type of people they are and how they view business. I've worked with a variety of funeral directors, some who wanted no commission, some who wanted silly commission, some who wanted you to support their football team or they would get rid of you. Again, it comes back down to that situation where, will it work for you? because there will be times, like if you're a florist business that wants to close between Christmas and New Year, there's still funerals between Christmas and New Year. So how would you service that funeral work that would come in at that time? So you need to explore it. How to get in? I would say the best thing is to go in and say hello. There's nothing worse than getting just a letter or something. You're better actually physically speaking to people. Any advice for starting a career as a florist? Any advice for beginners? And that's from Vanitas Mundi. So, floristry and getting into flowers is a wonderful career. There's so much creativity. Never 2 days are the same. It's a wonderful job to have. And actually, when they do surveys, florists always have the best job satisfaction compared to other jobs. So I do recommend going into floristry. Advice for getting in is, for me, I would try and find a job somewhere where there's a good shop that will support you. So where there's more, there's a number of staff and you can see a variety of work. So if you can get hands-on experience in an actual shop, that really, really helps. But obviously there's lots of good courses and that out there as well. And it is important to have qualifications. Personally, I don't have a floristry qualification. I've got a hotel management qualification, but that's probably a reflection of when I actually started out, it wasn't really considered a job for a man, and also there weren't actually a lot of floristry courses around. But even once I got into floristry and did it as a career, I would go on Flower Council of Holland workshops, go on specific training that maybe lasts for 3 days or for a week, and just do a variety. So my advice to people entering floristry, or for any beginner, is to really have an open mind, to accept that you will always be learning. And that might be about flowers, it might be about floral design, it might be about business practice, it might be about customers and how their minds think. Just have a totally open mind about how you approach everything. So you're always going to learn, and every day brings you something new. And that's really one of the exciting things about floristry. When we first started doing this channel and doing some videos, I said, I honestly don't know how many videos I can make before I run out of steam. But one video develops into another video, develops into another video, someone makes a suggestion. There's always something to do, there's always something new, and that really is exciting. So open mind would be my answer to that. So thank you for this. Any advice for getting started into wedding and event design after being on a course? So you finish your course and you're going to go alone. How do we find our place against others? That's when you have to ask yourself, are you really wanting to do it yourself, so become self-employed? Or do you want to have a period where you go and work in another business, like a floristry business or an event business, learn how they do it, see how they operate, actually take a little couple of years to maybe see if you do enjoy it, rather than jumping right in and being the owner or the manager and finding that actually you hate it and it's over your head. So if you can find the right job in the right type of business, then that is the best thing you can do. And maybe even if you have opportunities, is do a couple of years in one place, a couple of years in another place. So that could be that you work specifically in a shop that does a lot of weddings, then specifically in a shop that does a lot of funerals. But if it's events, then you need to find big event companies, city event companies, or nationwide event companies. It is hard to find that logistics, and then you need to work that in line with your home life. I mean, if you've got young children, then there's a limit to maybe how far you can travel. If you're young, free and single, then you could go anywhere in the world. If you've got things holding you down, that makes it a little bit harder. So you have to make it work for you and see what's going to fit in for you. So, do you need schooling to be a florist? Well, in the UK you don't. You can go to recognised national qualifications, so like City and Guilds, for example, or BTEC. There are qualifications that basically say that you've done training, but you don't need them to start your own business. And this is really a shift away from like apprenticeships, and now anyone can do anything. So ironically, I could open up a hair salon tomorrow and start cutting your hair. It doesn't make me a good hairdresser, but it is possible. So no, you don't need qualifications. I would say you want to make the most of your education. So whether that's through on the job, through learning through courses, through doing a recognised qualification, but you want to try and get balance. So if you're at college, you want to get balance for work. If you're at work, you want to get balance by doing day release or learning from books, learning from other people, learning from videos. There's no set way, but the more you can absorb, the more skills you can tuck up your sleeve, then the better. Okay, so thank you, Mike, for that question. And then that really just brings us to the suggestions that people have given us. So we love getting suggestions, and in a way we're really sorry that we can't do all of them very quickly, but we actually have a bit of a list. And one of the ones that we got was, can we do a garden tour? Well, I've done a video and you can see my garden, and it's the beginning of a garden. Come back in 10 years and I hope it'll be stunning. But I've done the video, and you can take your take, but it's not perfect. Even with lockdown and having lots of time, there are weeds, but yeah, everything has its place. Now, Claire Elizabeth Perkins, she asked, or she said she would love to see our take on Vanitas. And I actually thought, what is that? I had to look it up. And you know, like a still life, there is a category of still life where you've got like a skull, rotten fruit, flowers, and basically these still lifes were created to show the fragility of flowers, life, the presence of death, and they're slightly morbid, but they're very attractive and interesting. So yes, I think we will take that on board and maybe look at still life and a Vanitas. I hope I'm saying this right, I don't know. But yeah, I think that would be really interesting. Kathleen Constance, you came up with a simple floral activity for aged care. Well, what a wonderful idea. I think that would be something that would be nice to be able to do, whether it's even with your own grandparents or your own parents, or in a care home setting. To be able to do something, activity together, really is a great way of bonding. And actually, for people who are older, flowers have got the sense of texture, touch, smell, colour. You know, there's a lot there that you can really take out that will really be enjoyable for both the person taking it and the person giving it as well. Nevis asked, could you show us how to make an affordable tall wedding arrangement which is also quick to make? Now I'm thinking that probably the best way for doing this is in like a lily vase with a tied version at the top. So that's definitely something we're going to look at and see how we can make a good showy arrangement quickly and simply and tall with a wedding in mind. Now, someone else also wanted to ask about tips for leaf manipulation. And it was interesting because you said that you weave palm leaves and then create flowers through the woven palm leaves to create your own designs, which I find fascinating. And you wanted to know the best flowers for working in a venue where they don't allow you to fix things to chandeliers. So it's a little bit like doing the tall wedding arrangements. So we have got some videos that show tall wedding arrangements, but I think we'll explore maybe a couple of more options on that in the future. Now, Vincenti Gonzalez, I hope I've said that right, says, hello from Panama. We love that. You'd like to see more ikebana designs. Now, I have actually been studying ikebana for the last couple of years. I find it really interesting, and it's a great way of taking what you already know and having to think in a different way, and it kind of opens up your mind about kind of spatial placement and the importance of things being simplified in some ways. So actually studying an aspect like ikebana can be really rewarding. So yes, because I've been doing it for myself, we've incorporated a few designs so far that are ikebana inspired, and we're going to continue to do that. So we will aim to have more of them in the future. Anna in Argentina, you asked for more bridal and headdress videos. Again, this is something we'd like to do. We've always been a little bit conscious that videos can maybe be too long, but actually I think for doing wedding work they need to be a certain length of time so you can really see what we're doing. So we will do that as well and mix that in with our normal kind of standard videos. Show us more styles, Mike Bruno. What can I say? I think we do quite a lot of different directions, but yeah, I can take that on board. I think we'd like to probably do some more kind of arty pieces, sculptural pieces, pieces that are maybe more complex to do as well, where we tend to show things that are quite fast and quite quick, with a lot of visual appeal. Then actually some things that are a bit more complicated would be quite exciting to look at as well. Specialist tributes, so things like guitars, bears, trains, tractors, you name it. I have to confess, I love doing these things, and when it comes to 3D funeral tributes, I find that really interesting to do, not necessarily flowering it and finishing it in colour, but the actual construction. I really enjoy thinking about how I'm going to shape that base to get that effect. And in some ways you've got to be creative as well. So if you think about a football sitting on the ground, if you just put the ball on the ground, by the time you put your flowers in, it looks like it's sunk into the ground. So what you need to do is you need to take things into consideration, that you lift your form higher up with a wedge or with a base that makes it look like it's sitting on the grass and not in the grass. So there are hints and tips that you can learn from that. So we'll look at them. Specific church designs, so really looking at the occasions that happen within the church year. So some are specifically colours, some are specifically flower types. So we could do some videos on that. How to turn a supermarket bouquet into designer item. This was from Laura Parsons. Yes, that's a good one. And I think actually some supermarket bouquets now are good for what they are, but I think if you take them and change them, you could make them into something totally different. So I think that's a good challenge to have been given. But what we would really like to do now is say thank you for all your suggestions. We have got a list. There's some great extra items that have gone on there, and we're really going to try and work for that. I remember someone asked about a wedding arch as well, so that was one as well. So thank you for all your suggestions, thank you for watching, and thank you to Heather Rachel 13. You said that you did your own flowers for a wedding and they turned out fantastic. So if you found some inspiration from us, then thank you for expressing that you're happy, which is great. And Corinne Mitchell, you sent us a lovely message, and I met you at Forth College when you were studying, and you've passed your City and Guilds, you got merit and distinction, and it was really nice to come and meet everyone who was in that class and to see what you were doing, just be able to talk to you, and you were able to ask me some questions, and it's great to hear that you're now all out in the world and doing your own things, so keep in touch. So thank you everyone for watching our videos, for supporting the channel, for giving us feedback and suggestions, and for being with us on this journey. So we've got lots more videos to come, and we hope that we will see you very soon. And I think Janos is going to show our garden tour one very soon, if not today, so keep tuned. So stay safe everyone, hopefully we'll be out of this crazy situation we're in at the moment, and back to enjoying our flowers, enjoying creating, and being able to see each other again. So stay safe, bye!